It's finally happened. The Mega Man X series has been released on the PS4 in 2 separate Legacy Collections. But instead of just being a collection of games, Mega Man X Legacy Collection 1 keeps things more unified and rewards the players for playing. Like the first Legacy Collections, the games are faithful to their original versions. While Mega Man X through X3 were released on several different platforms, Capcom has opted to include the SNES versions, as Mega Man X3's PlayStation port included cutscenes for each of the Mavericks and changed music. This decision may seem odd to some, but it's most likely to keep the port as faithful to original release as possible. The first 3 games in the X series featured a password system instead of a save feature. While the password system is still fully functional, there is now the ability to save each time the password screen appears. However, it appears to only save one password at a time, which is disappointing since X4 has multiple save slots. For newcomers, there's Rookie Hunter mode for each of the games. This mode cuts damage in half and removes the serious case of death caused by spikes and falling down pits. This is a good way for players unfamiliar with the X series to get their feet wet, as these titles are difficult even for experienced players. Aside from the 4 core games in Collection 1, there's also the X Challenge. Instead of level challenges like in the original Legacy Collections, this one puts X against 2 different bosses from the whole series at once. Before tackling the fights, you choose up to 3 weapons to use, but you're stuck with them for the entire challenge, so choose carefully. Things are a little crowded when 2 Mavericks are on the same screen. Often these Mavericks will work together to make your life as miserable as possible. And Mavericks aren't the only bosses that appear. I've also run into Dr. Doppler from X3. One slight issue I have with the collection is that I have to remap my controls each time I open a game. Universally, the game defaults dash to A, making it difficult to charge the X-Buster while dashing. Personally, I prefer to map it to R, but the game doesn't save my inputs. This is just a minor annoyance, but it would be nice if it could at least save these for each title individually. Of course, it's not a Mega Man collection without non-playable goodies. There is a place to listen to every track across the 4 games, including the remix tracks in the X Challenge. Most surprising, however, is the inclusion of Day of Sigma, a special OVA created for the PSP title Maverick Hunter X. This OVA is fun, if not a little cheesy. Splitting the 2 Legacy Collections in half despite being released on the same day was a bold but smart decision. Instead of having to shell out more to receive a batch of titles you may not want, you can pay half to receive an entire trilogy from the SNES era, as well as experience a taste of the PlayStation 1 era. The Mega Man X Legacy Collection 1 isn't just a collection of faithful ports on new hardware, it's a mix of some of the best Mega Man games with plenty of love and goodies. The addition of medals is a great way to encourage players to fully explore every title, and X Challenge is fun, if not disorganized at times. For players new to the Mega Man X series, this is where to begin. While the Mega Man X Legacy Collection 1 contains the 4 most cherished games in the series, Collection 2 holds the 4 most maligned, and is only worth a buy for the most hardcore X fans. Legacy Collection 2 holds Mega Man X 5 through 8, rounding out the end of the PS1 era and ushering in the PS2 titles. Unlike the first collection, where the quality of the 4 included games is consistently superb, these 4 games have highs and lows and can frustrate and baffle anyone who hasn't played them before. X5 is easily the best game in the collection and feels the most like a traditional X game. It has its share of frustrating design choices, but the game is mostly solid and actually has my favorite Sigma Fortress in the entire X franchise. X6 is where things start to get rough. With aggressively bad level design and annoying wall-hacking enemies who appear in literally every stage, you wouldn't be blamed for skipping this one. You can tell that they started running out of ideas for animal-themed Maverick bosses too, because one of them in this game is an actual dung beetle. X6 does have some great music though, so there's that. X7 is the worst game in the franchise. 2D side-scrolling is largely sacrificed for slow 3D levels that awkwardly transition in from dimension to dimension. The stages don't make sense here. Some of them are divided by loading screens into tiny sections that feel like they should have been cut altogether. X7 also boasts voice acting so bad it makes the original Resident Evil look Oscar-worthy.
Shoot, looks like there's no choice but to fight.
All of this makes X7 a strange gem in the collection, as it's one of those so bad it's good games that you can laugh at with your friends. Luckily, X8 brings a huge sigh of relief, as it's actually not a bad game. Mostly. It brings X back to a 2D plane, and most of the levels are traditional side-scrollers. But there's still the excruciatingly long snowboard level and the strange Metal Gear-style stealth level. Still, compared to X6 and 7, X8 is a solid game in the franchise. And it actually has good voice acting too, with a cast comprising almost entirely of G Gundam alum, weirdly enough.
Dark Mantis, you've gone maverick. I'm putting an end to your weapons production.
That same cast is back for the Day of Sigma anime included in both collections. In fact, most of the bonus material is the same, including the challenge levels. Legacy Collection 2 is a roller coaster of emotions. Only about 1.5 of the games in the box are actually good. but it will complete the X series and fulfill hardcore fans. If you don't care about any of that though, save the $20 and just get the first collection. Or buy Collection 2 and just laugh at X7 with your friends.